Welcome to the Great Big Texas Home and Garden Show. This is the second year that the show has gone on, and we're really proud to be one of the sponsors of the show. My name is Starling. I'm the commercial sales manager for Pavestone Company, and assisting me today is Jimmy Reed. Jimmy, wave at everybody. Jimmy is a former contractor. He was a contractor in the Dallas market. He worked in Colorado, has worked all through the Southwest, and he's come back to Pavestone, and he's working as a contractor liaison. He helps contractors understand how to properly put down concrete paving stones, and he's our Vistera trainer. And that's what we're going to talk about today is our Vistera software program. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about Pavestone Company and a little bit of the history of the company. Pavestone Company was started in 1980. Bob Schlegel founded the company. We've been here in North Dallas. We started in Texas, and we've been helping create beautiful landscapes for over 30 years, okay? We feel like we're part of the community in Dallas and in Texas, and we've contributed to a lot of the projects that have gone in Dallas. We've worked with Habitat for Humanity. We've worked with the Katy Trail. We've worked with Lee Park and Arlington Park in Dallas. We've worked a lot with Boy Scouts, with the city of Grapevine. We've done a lot of different projects where we help give back to the community because we feel like we're part of the community at Pavestone. The Hearts and Stones program, for example, is a cooperative project that works between Home Depot and Pavestone Company, and it's an enrichment program giving back to the community. We've also been really fortunate. We've been able to actually work with some of the institutions of higher education in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. There's a couple of shots of SMU and TCU. Very fortunate to be part of that. Now, everybody wants to have that beautiful outdoor living space. And I can tell you, when I go back to first getting out of college, getting married, buying our first home, I couldn't wait to start putting together outdoor projects. But you know, I could see what I wanted in my head, but a lot of times what I ended up with out on the ground wasn't exactly what I was envisioning in my head. And I look at what other people have, some of these beautiful projects, and you kind of wonder, how do they get to that step, especially as do-it-yourselfers like a lot of you in the audience are. And you see some of these projects that just blow you away, and you know, how do you get there, and how do you get there, especially as a do-it-yourselfer, and you're not going through hiring a landscape architect to do a lot of your work? Well, we've got a bit of an answer. We're working with a new software company, Vistera. It's new, working with Pavestone. And Vistera is a professional three-dimensional software program that dealers and contractors can do designs. Now, how many of you out in the audience are do-it-yourselfers that look at doing your projects yourself? I figured a lot of the people here would be. There are contractors that work with the Vistera program, but if you're looking at doing something yourself, there are a number of dealers who are using the Vistera program right here in Dallas. You can go to their design centers. I know WizQ, for example, is one of the people that's working with the Vistera. And they're going to charge you a couple of $100s up front to work with the software system, but they'll take that off after you buy some product. So there's a lot of really neat things with the Vistera program that are out there, and we're going to demonstrate some of this live as we move into the program. But it's taking old, flat, two-dimensional drawings and giving them into something three-dimensional that you can visualize and personalize, because we're actually putting your home into the project. It's going to transform a flat, two-dimensional project into three-dimensional, and it's interactive and it's specialized for hardscapes and for Pavestone products. I had to put a dog picture in. I walked up and I saw all of the dogs up on stage, and I couldn't bring my dog with me, but I could have him in a photo here for you. But for example, here we have a picture of some Pavestone products put down with a nice pool, a pool house. And we look at another photo. This is actually a three-dimensional rendering done with the Vistera software. This is another project that was designed with the Vistera software. And as we get into the program, you'll see a lot of the really cool things that can be done with the Vistera. Another Vistera rendering, you can see they're pretty realistic, and they do pretty much everything in the hardscape, all the way down to the plantings. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at putting in a fireplace, raised patios and planter beds, outdoor cook stations, or if you're putting in fire pits. We can accommodate all those things in the Vizterra software. We can make give you an idea of what it's going to look like at night. We can show you what it's going to look like with plantings. And we can actually show you what it's going to look like with your lawn furniture drawn in on your project, on your hardscape plan. Hey, Jimmy? The next thing we're going to walk through is about a 9 or 10 minute interactive video. It's actually going to draw out a two-dimensional and convert it into three-dimensional drawing with the Vizterra. Let's go, Jimmy. Okay, flat rendering. First thing we're going to do, get the project information in, but you as a homeowner can sit down with the designer and we're going to draw your house in. So the second stage we go into after getting your information, we'll draw the house in. We can import a picture straight from a photograph. We can do it from AutoCAD. Probably the easiest avenue for most people is to take a drawing directly from a plat of your home.
Welcome to the great big
put the
Texas
actual measurements in.
Want to design your own outdoor
and we'll draw the house. Okay, now we're going to flip this home into 3D. So we go from a flat two-dimensional drawing, and now we have your home. Okay, now we're going to take it back into a two-dimensional drawing, and the next thing we're going to look at, or the next stage as a homeowner, all projects have property lines. So we're going to draw in some type of property line. In this instance, I'm jumping ahead. First, we're going to look at the back of the home, and we're going to put in the doors and windows. And the neat thing about the Vizterra program, there are a lot of different features that are in the library, or they can custom fit to exactly replicate your home. In this one, we chose a certain style of window fitting, and we put in 2 doors, and we're looking exclusively at the back of the home. We're dealing with the backyard design. Now we're going to go to that property line. We're going to draw in a fence, and we're using exact dimensions from your plat. We're going to put a fence in, and we can choose. If you have a wrought iron fence, we can go with a wrought iron. In this instance, we're going to use a brown picket fence. We can soften the corners. We don't have to stay with 90-degree corners, and we can show all of this in three-dimensional. Okay, Jimmy, flip that to 3D. Okay, so now we see a three-dimensional rendering of what the Vizterra program does with your fence line. Okay, not every home is fortunate enough to be on flat ground. Very often, you're going to have some degree of slope. So we can show you what your backyard, or a designer can show you what your backyard will look like with slope. In the past, this would have been represented as a 3-foot plus or minus on your drawings. Now it's actually showing you what that slope looks like in your backyard. You can look at your home, do we want it with a slope, or should we put a retaining wall in? Okay. Next thing that we're going to go to is we're going to show you a water feature. Again, a lot of different features stored in the library in the Vizterra. We're going to do a custom one in this illustration, so we're going to draw a custom water feature to fit the profile of the home. And so a number of different tools. They're going to use an arc tool and some straight line tools, and we're going to put in a pretty cool water feature. Now I know when I was doing projects in my house, very often I would go out, pick a spot, and put something in. And then 3 months later, I looked at it and said, you know, I really wish it had been somewhere else in the yard. Well, we've drawn our water feature in, and you can visualize with the Vizterra program, look at it and go, gee, I really like the water feature, but I would like for it to be somewhere else in the yard. In the design program, it's very easy to reach down, click on it, move it over in the 2D format, and then we can come back into 3D and look at it and go, gee, that's a better place for our water feature. Now we'll move into looking at what hardscapes would start looking at. So we're going to look at putting in a patio, and on this patio we're going to mimic the water feature that we've already drawn in. So we're going to use the same arc tools and create the same arcs or radiuses that we had with our water feature, and we're going to draw it into the back of our backyard. Okay. Now we're looking at three-dimensional. And you can see it's raised up from the ground, and that gives you something in a three-dimensional that you can actually visualize what it's going to look like instead of seeing a set of numbers that say +12 or +24 representing how high off the ground it would be. Now we're going to add a raised portion to our patio. And again, we're going to raise this one up 24 inches. It's hard to visualize that on a two-dimensional drawing, but we're going to bring this to life in three-dimensional. Okay. Now we can easily convert the back of the raised patio to a planter bed. So Jimmy's going to walk in and draw us a planter bed. We have a planter bed, and the next thing that we would like to envision is what would look good in our planter bed. The Visterra program has over 1,100 species of plants in the library of plants, and it does some neat things where you can actually go into climate zones or regions of the country and pick plants that exist in those climate zones. So we're going to start out with some unblooming, or some azaleas that aren't in bloom. Jimmy could make those be purple azaleas, pink azaleas, white azaleas. In this instance, we're going to show you azaleas that haven't bloomed. We're going to go to our climate map, and we're going to look at the climate zones for the plantings. Jimmy's going to get really wild here and type in a corn poppy and see if it pops up for that region. Type in a corn poppy. Okay. It shows that it works in that region, so we're going to go ahead and show a corn poppy and put some in bloom through our planter bed. Now we're going to start dealing with the actual hardscapes. And this is a neat thing for us at Pavestone. The program's already preloaded with Pavestone products. So a designer can actually go through and look at the style of pavers, the color of pavers, and the laying pattern of pavers. And with the click of a mouse, you can browse through and look at what actually goes with your home. So as he's gone through, he's clicked in and gone with a certain style of paver and a certain color. And now Jimmy's going to give us a house in Florida. He gave us a pink house. So, but anyway, Jimmy's going to finish out and just drop in a bunch of trees and plants and stuff, and just kind of show what a completed landscape drawing would give you. And what's neat about this is it's actually going to show you what your home would look like with mature trees as time goes on. Now, I mentioned that there are some dealers that are using, and some contractors that are using the Visterra program. Make sure that you visit the TNLA gardens. You follow the red carpet. It'll take you right into the TNLA gardens. I believe there are 8 of them there. And some of the people will be using the Visterra program. What's kind of neat, I mentioned you could go in and see the contractors, or you can see a dealer. They can do a design or refer you to someone who can do a design. And you, if you're like, I guess the kind of like my wife and I work this way, is I want to do an outdoor kitchen. I like the fireplaces. I want to do a little bit of everything, but my budget doesn't allow me to do everything at once. What's pretty neat about the program is you can design and put everything exactly where you want it. The first water feature I did in my first house, I put right in the middle of the back of the yard. 3 years later, I couldn't put some other stuff in my yard because I had this water feature that was in the middle of the yard. You can plan everything out, and you can work on a 5, 6, 7 year plan because you have something that you put in there and you know what it's going to look like as you move through. So some really neat advantages of using a software program. And you know, when I got out of Texas A&M University 20, 30, 40 years ago, we were using HP mainframes. And it's pretty amazing that we've gone to this technology where we can do so much with the home. Jimmy, you about through with this one? What he's finishing up, he's just dropping in a bunch of stuff that he's already pre-designed and put in the library. He's putting in koi ponds and pergolas. I think he's got some stone paths. Go ahead and drop that one out, Jimmy. Some of the neat things that you can do with the Visterra program is not only can you see what your yard will look like from the outside, but you can actually go inside your house and take a tour and look at what the landscaping and the hardscaping would look like from outside a window. Jimmy, show us a view through a window, would you? I can give him a minute to pull one up. So show of hands, how many people said they were do-it-yourselfers? Who would use a contractor? I love doing projects by myself. The older I get, the more contractor reliant I get. There's some really good contractors down there. There's some good dealers who are willing to sell product to you. There's a lot of places to go. If you have questions, you can stop by the Pavestone booth. We're at booth 9.